Prepare yourself for a sprawling discussion on just about anything, where critical thinking meets pop culture in a collision of mind-bending proportions. Please secure all neurons and prepare for full frontal cortex. It's time for Incoherent Ramblings. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Incoherent Ramblings. I'm your host, Joey Schammel.
Hey, I'm Paul Hottinger.
Cale Anderson.
Daryl George.
Yeah, right. And that Ralph guy over there.
Ralph.
And today we are talking about some phallic things. No, wait, incoherent. No, wait, that's us. Logical fallacies.
Long phallic things.
Logical fallacies.
Fellatio
Fatalities.
Fellatio
You had
fatalities.
to go there. You just had to go there.
What was what Paul's holding?
Well, that's...
Hey, it's my red lightsaber.
Paul, what did I tell you about holding your red lightsaber during the...
Well, I can't get it down.
Well, you blew it up. What do you expect?
Hold on, let's get a picture of
Give me a
Paul
few minutes.
for the show notes with his red lightsaber. It is his birthday, Paul.
Do you think any Jedi ever got their lightsaber button stuck? Like, it won't turn off, man. Now where am I going to put it? Yeah, I normally lay it
Padme.
down in the foyer, and now it's going to
Lightsaber
burn a
up
hole
your
in the
ass.
wall.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Incoherent Ramblings 00. Too many zeros again. I'm just used to the 00.
Just one.
021, because yes,
No,
when there's
zero,
1,000, the world explodes.
Double deuce.
No.
No, 22? No, it's 2 1.
We did 2-2.
Would you do that?
Oh, the future of the pod.
We're not doing that till
You
next
see the number
week.
on there?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
This
That's
one's
right.
backtracking.
You got, who knows what we may possibly do next week?
Yeah, what? I don't know.
Totally random.
It's a random thing.
Yeah, right.
That wasn't obvious. Okay, so today we're talking about logical fallacies. This was Daryl's choice from last week, and it all has to do with, when you're talking about things and like someone says something that sounds good and logical, but they really started off with something that wasn't really true. It was false, as in a fallacy. Daryl's going to explain it better, but that's basically what we're going for.
Well, when you make an argument, you start with a premise.
Wait. What about our pre-ramble this week? I guess that was the
What
music.
about our host?
Okay, we have
here.
No, our host, our sponsor.
Oh, the pre-ramble. Yeah, right.
Do we have a
you're
pre-ramble?
gonna have to. Dang it! You see, I didn't hook anything.
We're not going to hit pause, but let's just all be quiet for a second. All right,
No,
that was.
that's what
I feel better having that pause so we can kind of restart things. Okay,
Yeah,
guys.
deep breath, and then we're ready to go.
All right, it is time for the pre-ramble.
I'm a pre-ramble,
Pre-ramble. Okay, for today's pre-ramble, we went to see World War Z, which we recorded before we got there. But we didn't record after, so we're just gonna play the first part.
And then we'll say what we thought.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Oh my gosh!
Go. Now we're on.
That's crazy. So,
Yes, we're here to watch World War Z. World War Z. This is before the movie,
8:30.
before the carnage.
right?
This is going to be awesome.
Are they calling this World War Z in Canada
Actually,
and Australia?
in the book, they actually called them Zed. That was a nickname for the zombies, Zed.
Was it really?
Yep. So maybe they'll use it in here. I don't know.
Did they have Z talks?
Hold on,
correction.
stop right there.
that was
You
it.
were talking about Zed Talks, right? And you can keep it going again in a second.
jeez.
You can keep it going in a second. So anyway, Zed, for those of you who don't know, is how they say Z in most of the rest of the world.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
why it's funny. Go ahead and play.
I was just Canada.
Oh, jeez.
And Australia.
Hi. We're here for take two. Talking about World War Z.
Stop
It
it,
looks like Mr. Flair from
We're so
Captain
organized.
Disillusionment.
Maybe we'll just connect this with an edit to the first one so we don't have to introduce everything again.
Okay.
Ready? Cut.
We
So
have
anyway,
it.
should've
what were you
started
saying about Zed?
Zed?
Zed Talks would be like...
Zed Talks would be...
So here we are. We'll report to you after the movie is finished and tell you if it's good or exciting.
I thought I told you not to. I thought I told Cale not to act like the Count having an orgasm and then look at him.
It happened anyway.
Yep. Damn it.
Oh, that was it.
So what do you think of World War Z?
Well, now let's play the one where we talked about it afterwards. Wow, we just saw World War Z, and it sounds like it's right now.
No, it wasn't that great.
Hey, it had nothing to do with the book hardly at all, but it was really good.
I liked it. I was behind you guys a couple rows. You didn't see me, but I thought it was
You're
pretty
always
good.
behind me,
You're like a
Paul.
ninja.
Why is
True.
that?
So,
He is below the.
I
House
thought it
of
was
Brown.
very good. Story was so-so, but I liked the action in it, and it was very intense.
Yeah, I thought it was a fun movie. I didn't.
Just the zombies chasing. We're like, oh my god.
Yeah.
You're like
The
gripping your
plane
seat.
part was
Oh.
really, really intense and
Maybe want to go home and play
interesting.
Call of Duty.
To me, it seemed too
I
small
did go home
for
and do
being
the-
a World War something.
Carol didn't like it though.
Yeah,
Go
figure.
'cause,
Yeah. Well, you know,
I'm hard to
and
please.
Rush fans.
He is, man.
Rush fans.
All right, that's the end of this week's pre-ramble. Pre-ramble.
It's over. It's over.
Pre-ramble.
It's over.
Lasted too long.
All right, now let's go on to our topic today.
Wait, who are we brought to you by? Who are
Oh!
we brought to us by?
We are brought to you by Paul's birthday present, which is Shockwave, because it's logical fallacies.
Sounds like he can make scary rattling music.
Looks like he's got a long fallacy
Wait.
there.
Can you make scary rattling music?
Kind of.
Okay, whatever. Okay, so Shockwave from Transformers Prime.
Oh, that too.
Yes.
Prime.
No Beast Hunter mode on him right now.
Oh, I left those at home.
Never.
Oh, that's not mine. That's yours. I forgot.
I'm not touching
They
it.
actually look okay. I don't know. But everyone needs a vehicle.
So
So,
he says.
Daryl, explain to us about our topic today. What is it?
All right, so we're going to focus on what the logical fallacies are, but before we get into that, we might want to know what it is to make a logical argument.
What is it to make a logical argument, Daryl?
Well, first of all, you make a premise. You start with a premise, and you're going to say if A equals B, then you have a second premise. If B equals C, then you can make the logical transition that A equals C.
That is called the transitive property. I remembered from Mr. French's class in geometry.
True. And so your logic will be sound as long as your premises are sound. And that's one thing I want to point out here is that we're going to play a game later on where we play some video clips, and I'm going to challenge my fellow panelists to try to spot that logical fallacy. There will sometimes be more than one. But the thing is, I should point out that many arguments that you hear from various people often start with unsound premise or premises.
Or premise I.
Premise I?
I don't know. Sounds
Cacti?
good.
Well, it's
So-
kind of like how Extreme's album number 3 said. There's the yours, mine, and the truth.
Yeah, 3 sides to every story.
There you go.
Yeah, and don't forget the cheese.
And don't forget the cheese.
I just felt left out.
So the thing is, if you're even if you're starting with sound premises, you might make an illogical argument, and that's where the logical fallacies come in. So what I was thinking to do to start is we would just go down a little list of what some of them are.
Hold on, let me just put it here.
Because we do have someone directing this whole thing. So
Yeah.
we can-
So basically, you're saying if I think of something like A, and I'm saying it equals B, and so A leads to B,
right.
and B leads to C, then A and C are connecting. So you're telling me that my A is false, is basically what you're saying.
Or your B.
If your logic's false, then
Yeah, that's what I'm
it's
saying. That's what
false.
this is all about. People will say something that's false, and then as you lead to it, leading to B and C are truthful, but based on something that is originally not true.
Well, here's okay.
Yeah,
that would
that's
be a
why it's
false
logically
premise.
not true.
Okay.
So the logical fallacies are a little different because you can still have flawed logic even if your premise is good.
Oh.
Okay, so that's where we're going to try to spot the difference there. So there are a lot of things you can pick on when people argue. A lot of times they just aren't arguing with solid evidence behind them, or they're stating an opinion as fact. Those are problems with the premise, and that's what makes their argument not sound. However, sometimes people can have sound evidence but make an argument that's
With video
not
instead of sound.
So the thing is like, well,
Video
if we
killed the
started
radio
with-
star.
If we just started
Awesome
with the
UFO
ad
footage
hominem attack,
that everybody has.
let's just say I could start with something completely valid, like I could say something like what would be valid about, say, Joey here, like
Joey is male.
Joey is
you
male.
certain?
Okay.
Is a male. Now I don't know that firsthand, but we're going to go with that premise.
Might not have started that way, but
Hey,
he is now.
dude.
So,
It's wrong, and it was in my left ear. No.
I mean, I've known you since you were pretty young.
Okay, we can stop talking about whether I'm male or not. Let's go.
Gym
I
class
am
together.
a male, and if I'm not, we'll just take it on. Well, that's the
We've
fallacy.
all seen each other's penis.
All right,
Oh,
so
sorry.
okay. So
You know, it just
Why don't we
came
go with-
across my mind that I'm not sure that's true. I don't think that's true.
I don't know.
Thank goodness.
All right, well, I saw yours.
It's a false penis.
I'm male. Let's go. Was that what we're going
Yes.
A false
You're a
penis.
human.
Well, I'm not sure how to turn that into an ad hominem.
with? Well, damn it. Okay, I'm a
I
teacher. I like
Joey's
the
a-
color green.
Maybe it would be more qualitative,
He's
like
a human
Joey's a
being.
good teacher, right?
Okay, that works.
But then
not Bob.
I could make the argument that Joey isn't a good teacher because he's a moron, right?
I am.
Now, whether or not...
Because you're stupid.
No, but the thing is,
why.
I shouldn't be able to disqualify your opinion. That's more like my opinion, though, so that's still not a logical argument. But let's just
Well,
say...
this is going smoothly.
This is so
I know,
illogical.
huh? This is bad. This is a bad start. So let me start over again.
We always start
Joey.
with this.
Yes, me. Why is it always me?
We're gonna say
Yes.
okay.
It's a large penis.
Why do we keep going back to penises?
Because you're male.
Because
I want to start over.
Well, too bad. Come on.
No, okay, let's say what's your opinion
let me read it
on,
again.
on the verdict that was made today about gay marriage being it's unconstitutional to discriminate on gender.
At least you didn't date us. All right. Well, I think. Well, we all said it was Paul's birthday, so I think that is perfectly fine. I think that people who love each other should be able to be married, whether they are the same sex or different.
Okay, now that's your opinion, and
Yes.
if I want to counter your opinion,
Yes.
I should have some evidence and a logical argument against it. But if I want to attack you instead, I can say, Joey, you're stupid. I don't like your opinion. That's an ad hominem.
Oh,
that's-
okay.
It's basically
So
saying
he's stupid.
I don't have
He's wrong 'cause
anything
he's stupid.
qualitative to
This was
refute
supposed.
your claim.
This was supposed to be Kale's thing. Remember?
Kale's thing.
Remember we said earlier when.
That's why I said you're stupid.
Oh, okay, so,
Okay,
yeah.
right.
That's how he wins
He's
arguments.
Mr. Ad hominem.
So we gotta get that like this. This is ad hominem at work. Kale, I'd like to say that I think that gay marriage and everything else is accurate. What do you say about that?
I say you're wrong because you're stupid.
There we go. Ad hominem. We're
Yeah.
done.
See, it's,
So here's-
instead of having an argument, what it really is you're attacking the person
Right,
instead
right,
of trying to have an argument to convince people that you're right.
Right. You're
And
adding
if-
hominem, basically.
Well, in Latin,
So that's how
it
most
means-
arguments
it means
go.
the person
At the very
so
end.
You're
Yeah.
just going after the
Oh.
person, not the thought.
Or it
That-
ends with FU.
Yeah.
That's good. Daryl said that it's ad hominem means the person because you're going after the person. That's good. All right, let's move on. Next one.
Well, wait,
Well, we're
there's-
waiting
there's
because
just
Daryl
one
has
thing
more.
about that though.
Let's just look at this.
You can
long
still it's still possible to call into question someone's qualifications and state your opinion about them, but where it becomes a logical fallacy is if you say they're wrong because they're a jerk or whatever, fill in the blank, right? The thing is, you can have your own opinion
list.
about
I got
someone,
you.
but that doesn't make them wrong necessarily. Like their argument can still be valid no matter how much of an idiot or jerk or whatever.
Well,
you
you
wanna
could,
call
for
them.
example, I could say if he's talking, for example, about gay marriage and he doesn't know how to use a computer or the internet, and I could say, well, he doesn't know how to use a computer or internet, so how do you find out this information? Right, or something like
He's
that. It's still logical, but it
Right,
doesn't
right,
mean
right.
that it's less of an opinion and more. Or I guess it would be more like if, like you were saying, based on his experience, like you wouldn't have someone who's not a doctor come up in court and testify about something medical. So it would be okay if, in an argument, if someone was trying to say something that only a doctor would probably know.
Well, you could call into question their qualifications.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm. That's not.
that be like
Even
how
if someone
racists
who's
argue?
That's actually
that
another
leads
argument.
into another one, the argument from authority.
Yeah.
Even someone who's not an authority can still be correct.
Right.
So wouldn't ad hominem be like how people will argue like through racism and stuff?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, a black doctor says something, and some white supremacist or whatever is like, well,
Right,
he's stupid. He's just some black guy.
It could also be like either through race or gender or whatever, you don't understand my point of view,
Yeah.
and that sometimes is an argument. But
Like how
that's
can
not
the checker at
exactly-
Walmart be right? Because
Okay,
They're all stupid.
because they're not in the same place as you are in
Yeah,
life or
yeah.
whatnot. But the thing is that
So you attack 'em.
that alone does not invalidate someone's opinion, right? Or
Yeah.
invalidate their
Right.
logic.
Yeah.
So
And that
okay,
goes.
moving on.
That go well. It goes along with that same one. When in the past episodes we've said, well, you can't use a relationship to Hitler as an
Darwin's
argument,
law, yeah.
and so it's called poisoning the whale. Also,
Right.
And what it is that where you say, well, they can't be right because they're just like Hitler.
The well, not the whale.
The whale, yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
did I say it
You
correctly?
said whale.
right.
Well, Jonah
So if you-
was there too. I'm
if you
sure.
poison
We
the
don't, we
whale,
don't want
that's
to
gonna
piss
be a
off
big
the
change.
shepherd group or whatever they are out there.
Okay, moving on to the next one is what Willie Nelson says when he wants to have a drink.
Straw man.
Straw man. No, I guess that was that
know
was
what that
all right. That was
Isn't that
what's-
on Wizard of Oz?
no. What's that guy's name? Matthew McConaughey. Oh, straw man.
This is like way out of order on the thing here.
Yeah, I didn't put them in the exact
Oh,
same order,
all
so
right.
we don't plagiarize. Yeah, for
Oh,
example.
all right.
Okay, so straw man argument is basically cutting down someone else's opinion in an easy fashion by basically propping up something that's easy to invalidate
With
when
your
someone
penis.
else never made that argument. So I could say to Joey, if we just want to continue the thread about the gay marriage thing, I could say, but Joey,
Yes.
you're in support of if you're in support of that, then you're in support of people marrying children, and here's why that's wrong, right?
But what? What?
But what? But at what point did you
I did not.
say that people should marry underage? You
I
just
did not.
said you just said you were in support of gay marriage, not marrying you.
So a straw man is basically applying an opinion to someone that they didn't have that's kind of connected to the opinion they do have.
right.
Okay.
Right. So it's basically saying like we're going to strike down your very weak argument that you never made in the first place.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
so like the person arguing and creates like a picture of that person and invents a caricature of the opponent's position.
I'll give you kind of an example of one thing. I think I made a post on Rom's Rants about this one time.
What?
Is that I think it's kind of a common misconception that a lot of people think that all men created equal means actual equality. I think that's kind of, if you try to shoot that down, you're making a little bit of a straw man argument. I think
Right.
most people, including the founding fathers and other people who argue the Constitution, state that there's equal opportunity for every person out there, not necessarily that we're all the same.
My experience has been, and I think this is when you said that, and I said this back about that, which is that yes, the founding fathers were meaning equality of opportunity
Right,
and not just
right.
equality. And when people become more educated, they also become of that opinion and also understand when we're talking about equality. But the majority, especially if here in America, you say equality, and then it has to be equality. And they take it at the face value of those exact words and don't infer.
So everyone has the exact same rights.
Right.
I almost kind of think of that as a straw man argument, though, because find me the specific person who says that everybody is all the same. 'Cause-
No. The thing is that they extend it to more equality instead of equality of opportunity because, of course, Prince will never be the basketball player. Like I said in my article, will never be the basketball player Michael Jordan. They are not equal. I'm not equal to you, and you're not equal to me. But we should have equality of opportunity. We should all have the opportunity to do that. And what I'm saying is that there, from my experience, and I guess I could go find them if I needed to.
Right.
But that the majority of people that I would say are not in those two categories that I did, a founding father or highly educated, would say that equality, they would think of equality as equality and not equality of opportunity.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm saying, find me the people. Otherwise, it's a straw man argument.
Yeah, well, technically you're right.
Well, we have like
But you're
18...
just stupid, so it just invalidates your argument.
I admit it.
Wow, from straw man
Talk to the hand.
to ad hominem.
Right
that
there.
Was
So
amazing.
we have like 18 more of these, so let's speed it up a little.
That,
Okay.
Ding.
Yeah, we need
Ad ignoratum.
What are we doing?
So so next is ad ignoratum. Now what that is something I have absolutely no idea about. So I'm going to pass it on to somebody else.
Sounds like ignorance.
It does sound like ignorance, Paul. Today's episode is brought to you by the letter ignorance, which is not a letter.
Ignorant.
Let's just take something like ESP
Well,
as an
goddamn, I
example,
mean,
right?
Well, like what?
Let's take something like ESP or UFOs. What does everyone feel here?
Yeah.
UFOs?
I feel a penis.
UFOs.
Probably
Yes.
UFOs. Okay.
And yes, I will be
So
making
here's
a
the
penis
thing.
joke now at each one.
When people see a UFO, like a strange sighting or whatever,
Yes.
sometimes the argument ad ignoratum comes up because we don't have a solid explanation for what people saw.
That's
Right.
right.
Like, I saw light streak across the sky and they moved in ways that are just not sound for a large object to move. You know, like it would have been against the laws
That's
of
a
physics.
UFO.
And we don't have anything on radar showing this. We don't have any
unidentified.
explanations of it
It's
being
flying. It's an
a
object.
weather balloon
Right.
or a known craft. So basically, there's no explanation for this. So coming up with an explanation out of the blue, due to our ignorance of what it really was, is an argument ad ignoratum. It basically means
You just don't have
you're
the
not
information.
allowed to fill in the gap with anything you wish when there's a gap in our knowledge.
Now that I have a table for this. Excuse me for a second. I know we don't have a lot of time, but this
Right.
is something that bugs me. A UFO stands for unidentified flying object. It has nothing to do with aliens. So when you say it's a UFO, you're not saying it's an alien spaceship. They're two separate things. So get it through your heads, people.
Ignorant.
I'm sorry.
And that's the logical fallacy, is saying that it is a specific thing just because we don't know what it is.
When people think if I say UFO, they think I'm talking about an alien spaceship.
And
But it's
it
not.
goes
It's
to
you know what it
absence
is?
of proof
No.
is
it flying?
not
Yes.
proof.
Is it
So
not?
would that be like
That's
someone?
exactly it.
Would that be like someone explaining something because it was an act of God?
Yeah,
They
exactly.
They don't like miraculously.
That's
your cancer's
like
gone or whatever.
Another version of it, God of the Gaps. Sometimes that's creationists lean on that because it's like there's a gap in the fossil record showing the evolution of one creature to another. Therefore, because there's a gap in our evidence, God made it happen.
Then you're wrong. You don't know what you're talking
Instead
about.
of evolution. Oh, yeah?
You don't know. You have no idea what you're talking
All right.
about
Okay.
because I am incredulating you personally.
All right.
I'm taking a guess on that. I'm trying to transition us to the next one.
Because he's
Right.
stupid.
Don't make this personal.
So
That
which
would've
one
been
is that? It's
Personal incredulity.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's just basically the argument that I'm going to use it in a context where it might actually be right, but I'm going to say basically like it's insane to think that that 9/11 was a conspiracy theory because I personally cannot imagine the conspiracy that would be big enough to pull that off. Right? So that's my personal feelings on like I just can't believe that something like that could happen in this country, and therefore I'm completely dismissing it.
Right. I
That
cannot.
being said, there are a lot of other valid arguments you can make about large conspiracies falling apart. You could show evidence of that happening, but just taking personal incredulity for something is not exactly evidence against it. It just
Right.
means you have a hard time imagining.
If you can't explain it, and then it
Like my
can't be
penis.
true.
Uh-huh.
That's basically what
Like
the
my
argument is. If,
Yeah.
if I can't understand it or explain it, it can't be
Right.
true.
It'd be like saying, I don't understand how the internet works, so therefore it probably doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
I can't believe how my penis works, so it probably doesn't exist.
Yeah.
That's what she said.
Or you just can't believe it works at all.
But what about the final consequences? That's the next one. Go, Daryl.
Alright, so that one's based on a reversal of cause and effect. So,
So do la fa mi do re.
alright, one of the big final consequences things that you can come up with is if you look at quantum physics, you realize that if certain variables about quantum particles were askew by just a little bit,
Like my
that
penis.
the whole universe wouldn't exist in the way it does now. Like, things wouldn't be stable and they would just fly apart. Like Joey's
Penis.
Yeah, right. So the thing is that our universe is here, and it is stable. Particles are stable. Therefore, you're basically saying the effect of this is the cause, but that wasn't the cause. The cause is basically there may have been an infinite number of universes spawning during the Big Bang.
Oh, okay. So it's
And ours is here because it was the only
I got it.
Right.
Look at the majestic and the miracles of life. There must be a God.
Kind of like.
Yes?
That's
No?
part of it.
That's part of it.
Yeah, because
Dude, I
the
thought
final
I had it.
consequence of how things are
Well-
here now. Well, I think there is a pretty common argument again with creationists about this. It's about like the eyeball is so complicated that if any one part of it were different, it wouldn't function as an eyeball. So it's there's a term for it, and I can't think of it right now. Irreducible complexity is the name of it.
That was a good guess.
Thank you. It was
So
in the
irreducible
paragraph.
complexity basically is saying cells and organisms are so complex that if any one part of them doesn't function right, the organism doesn't live, or it doesn't see, or it doesn't hear, or whatnot. So the argument goes that evolution could not have, by happenstance, placed all these things into an order, because if any little bit of it is out of whack, it doesn't work.
So it had to be designed.
So
I
it had to
think-
be designed.
I
Right?
think
You're
that
saying
this-
that because things arrived where they're at, there has to be. You're saying the cause of it is really the
So it's basically not believing in like
Result.
randomness.
in a way
Evolution.
Yeah.
Well,
Evolution.
that's why, like, when the skeptics' guides, they said that evolution must be wrong because if it were true, it would lead to immorality. That's a good explanation, I
For
think.
I don't know if that's a typo. If they meant to say immortality.
Instead of immorality.
Okay.
See,
Yeah, I don't know
because
You guys are acting like you're the authority of all this. But I don't think you are.
I'm the final authority and the countdown.
And that's the end of this one. Let's move on to the next.
Actually, the argument of authority is very powerful.
Yes,
because
it
I
is.
tell my son, because I said so.
Right.
The argument of authority when I'm
Wait.
teaching. Why?
When you say-
Because
You say it in that voice.
I'm
it's
the
like,
authority. You're not.
Yeah.
the argument from room.
God's watching.
Yeah.
Now I will allow you to eat dinner. Respect my authority.
Respect my authority.
All right. So an argument from authority is basically saying because it's said in this holy book, or because this person of certain status said it, it must be true.
Yeah, yeah.
The thing is,
I got more in the back.
authority
It's just
can
not
carry
cold.
some weight, and I don't want to delegitimize someone who has, expertise in something. But even experts get it wrong sometimes. So it's wrong to just assume that logic is sound just because it comes from an authority. Sometimes it's argued that people in aviation, when they see a UFO, somehow they're given more credit for the sighting because they ought to know what airborne objects look like.
Yeah.
Yes, they ought to.
But the thing is that people are people, and it's difficult to tell ranges, especially
should
at
it
night.
be?
If you just see lights in the sky, you don't know if it's a light as distant as the stars or as near as a lightning bug
Or my
30
penis.
feet above your head.
Penis.
Home of Brown. So we basically should not give extra weight to someone's authority just because they claim
Because they
to
are an authority.
right. So take their argument and analyze it irrespective of their station. And that's kind of like the inverse of what
interesting.
you're saying about, like, well, this person's a Walmart checker. You also should not dismiss someone's argument solely on the aspect of their lack
I got
of
it. So you
authority.
shouldn't agree with
could
someone
be-
just because they're a big, powerful lawyer who thinks they know everything or something
Right.
like that.
Yeah.
But then again, if they are a lawyer and they tell you the law is a certain way and they can show you where in a
Then
certain article of the
Then
law
their
it says
expertise
that.
does have more weight.
Exactly.
A title does not always equal
So they
expertise.
don't win by
Yeah.
default of their expertise or
Right.
their authority, but
It
you
definitely
still
should be
you
taken
still
into
should
it.
fact check. basically. Like, fact check everybody. And also don't dismiss people just because they don't have authority.
You're confusing me with your association and your... Damn it, what was it? Causation.
Oh, confusing association and causation. Right.
I remember that one from science class.
So, just things being associated does not necessarily mean causation. So, you could say that
People who smoke die earlier. Well, that's a bad one because that's been proven. Probably.
that's actually probably true.
Yeah, that's bad. Okay, people who drink caffeine may die earlier.
No,
But that may. Okay, go ahead.
Let's say we could take something that is true, that cancer rates
No, that's good.
are higher amongst smokers. And that turned out to be true through studies. But you could also say something that, like, smoking increases in families that have a high divorce rate, right? Now, that's one factor in things. So maybe broken homes do have a higher number of smokers in them, but that might not necessarily be causal.
You could also say that
The
means
cause
divorce.
might not be from smoking.
Yeah,
But
so
no, you could also
divorce
you
is
could
from smoking.
Yeah, or you could say divorces cause cancer,
Okay.
and that's
causes
that's
divorce. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
That's association,
Because
not causal.
you could do a study that shows that cancer rates are higher in divorcees for whatever reason, but you necessarily shouldn't jump to the conclusion that divorce causes cancer, right?
Boom.
There might be something else, another factor involved, like
my penis.
Joey's penis.
That has caused cancer.
You know, that's becoming the bell when he says that. You know? The bell of Joey's
I'm very
penis.
tired of Joey's penis.
You didn't say that last night.
I've heard that before.
Well, I didn't see you last night, so
Are you an authority on that?
No, but I'm begging the question
right.
of my penis.
Okay, begging the question is sometimes kind of a hard one to get, but it's basically stating a conclusion as a premise, and that basically unfairly puts something into the mix without having to be proven. So, for example, I could ask you like a pointed question, like, "Are you still beating your wife?" kind of thing, right?
So was what?
Now, the premise, the conclusion of you beating your wife is basically built into the question, because whichever way you answer, you have to admit that you at one time beat
Yeah,
your
it stops
wife.
an argument.
Kind of like. So it's basically unfair to do, and some
lawyers
people
that
do
all
it
the
as
time.
like
Yeah.
you could ask, like sometimes people who promote the like 9/11 conspiracy theory might say something along the lines of, "Why am I hearing a flute whistle?"
Because it's my penis.
Are you calling Oompa Loompas?
Or they might ask you something like, "What are you sheep afraid of by not looking into the 9/11 conspiracy?" Right. So
Oh, so you're saying you're
I'm afraid of worms,
question-
Roxanne! Worms!
by begging the question, they're basically saying you're afraid of something,
And you know what you're afraid of?
whether or not you are. Yeah,
My penis.
yeah, pretty much.
So tell me about a false continuum. Ooh, is that like the new Star Trek continuum?
No, it's like
Or is that the true
continuum
one?
from the show on Sci-Fi.
Yeah, anyone else want to take this? You want to take this? Hey, Kale, you take this one. Kale.
Stop it! You're freaking me out! Get out of my head!
All right, I'll do it then. All right. False continuum is, we had a little bit of this debate a while back about talking about how religions were cults. And basically what
that's
we were
right,
saying
we
is
did.
we were saying because there's a fuzzy line between two extremes of something,
And a penis.
that there's no difference, right? But that's where the false continuum comes from. You're basically saying, like, Democrats and Republicans are all the same.
Star Trek, Star Wars.
Hey, no, they're not, Joe. That's
I mean, Ralph.
faulty. Yeah, Ralph. I mean, that's faulty logic. Now, because there's fuzzy lines between the two.
And they're getting fuzzier all the time.
Like my penis.
Moving on,
Now, false analogy
Shave a little bit.
right?
is when you
That
have
would
an
be like
analogy.
saying that would be a false analogy is just like saying this podcast is like Joey's penis.
It has nothing to do with.
It's hard to do.
Actually, that might be more of a non sequitur. Actually, but it's But a false analogy is basically when you have an analogy where the things don't line up with one another. So you could say something like drug users are like salmon swimming upstream because the first time they go upstream and spawn, they always want to do it again and again, but they just can't get there anymore.
It's because they're
like
dead.
chasing the dragon, right? Now that's just a weird analogy that doesn't fit. Like, what do salmon have in common with drug users? I don't know.
My penis?
It's just not a good
They
analogy.
breathe air.
They breathe air. Thank you. Salmon, newsflash. Salmon breathe air.
Wait,
The
what?
new lungfish.
Oh my god.
Thank you.
Mr. Limpet.
Oh, that's
Thanks-
what I call my
Thanks
penis.
for the
All right, moving on.
Oh,
Confusing currently unexplained. What? Confusing with unexplainable. Oh, something we don't know now can never be known.
Right, like the meaning of life or the secrets of the universe. You know, we don't have a good explanation for them scientifically, philosophically even, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's unexplainable. So I think a big part of this comes up with neuroscience, right? Because we're struggling with the idea of explaining how the mind works, right? But just because it's currently unexplained, or we currently can't explain it with our technology and science right now, doesn't mean that we're not moving toward actually explaining it at some point. There's debate. Is it actually unexplainable, or are we on a positive track to actually explain how consciousness works and all that stuff?
Like my penis.
Well, it's
That's
if
unnecessary,
if it's unexplainable,
You have an unnecessary
and therefore
penis.
it is an act
Hey!
of God. That is the wrong way to think of it.
Let's talk about the genetic fallacy of my penis.
Okay, genetic fallacy. I'm not as familiar with this one, unfortunately. Darn it. But actually, there's a good example on the Skeptics website. I'll just rip them off again.
Go ahead.
It's basically saying that, like, the origins of certain words, they have a certain genetic origin. Now, it doesn't necessarily invalidate your argument just because you're using the term, say, sunrise or sunset. You're not saying you're not supporting geocentrism by using those terms. You mean them in the terms of the sun sinking below the horizon or rising, but even saying that
So it's
term
like a play
sinking
on
and
words?
rising, we're not saying the sun's actually moving. We understand scientifically that it's the rotation of the Earth making the sun appear to dip below the horizon, but using the word sunset doesn't invalidate it.
Would that be like I'm driving up to San Francisco? You're not really going up.
That's
You're just
because
going north.
That sounds like a
north
semantic
is an
fallacy,
arbitrary.
though. Wouldn't it make more sense to call it semantics, though?
It is kind of a semantic.
A flatulent. That's
Yeah.
what it,
Okay, false dichotomy. Dichotomy. Sorry, I got confused with my penis.
Okay.
False dichotomy.
Okay, so that one is basically limiting your choices to only two, when there might be a continuum of things. So, for
Do
example,
you want to beat your wife or kill your wife?
Yeah, that's a good.
That was what
when
OJ
there's actually a
thought that night.
continuum between beating and killing, right?
Right.
So you could totally. This is terrible.
I can put her in the hospital.
yeah, there's a lot of things you can do in
Yeah, 'cause-
between.
Joey, you and your penis are both misogynistic.
Yes, we are.
Just saying.
Goodness.
All right, let's talk about inconsistency.
Okay.
It's inconsistent.
It's inconsistent.
But it specifically has to do with being hypercritical of someone else's evidence without investigating your own. And this is another thing that
That's exactly what we're doing.
young Earth creationists do a lot of this.
So that's incoherent rambling.
Pretty much.
I believe
But you can
Kale. He
definitely
reads books.
spot a lot of people who argue will say, like, there's no evidence in the fossil record that evolution actually happened. But it's like, well, look, we've got this, that, and the other. And then they go, oh, but there are gaps in between. And then we find a new fossil that fills the gaps, and now there are two new gaps in between that.
And then everybody's satisfied.
And then soon there's gaps
Every
everywhere.
gaps get filled, and
Yeah,
you're
dude.
satisfied.
And you know what I put in those gaps?
fall into.
I bought a fanny pack
My
at the
penis.
Gap
Yes,
once.
yes.
All right.
Okay. Non sequitur. My penis. Moving on.
Okay. Then. Might we want to explain?
Okay.
Yeah, what's up
It's
with your...
That's no true Scotsman.
It's when you argue something that is.
A Scotsman clad
Just
until it's
disconnected.
tomorrow an evening fair. And once a day, baby,
That's
let
the
the
next
drunk
one.
on it. Okay.
So my analogy of the salmon swimming upstream being like drug users is kind of a non sequitur because what do
Well,
salmon have
it's
to do
because
with
they're
drug
both
users?
shooting up.
Oh,
Oh! Like my penis!
Oh,
Well, a Scotsman clown dude at the bar one evening fair.
So what's the next
one?
one?
Can tell that how he walked that he jumped over their share.
Not true
He stumbled-
Scotsman.
The Scotsman. That's
Yes.
what I was saying.
It's basically okay. The no true Scotsman argument is basically saying like, no. Let's say that like no soldier in the military would not be brave, and then you say like, well, here's an example of a
That's a
cowardly
double
soldier.
Yeah,
And then you
that
say,
is-
well, they're not a real soldier because they're cowards.
I like
so
that negative.
so it's basically saying that, someone gets
Interesting.
disqualified from being a whatever.
So it's like transitive property. You're saying all A equals B, and all B equals C, and look, he's not B, or no,
Therefore, he can't be A or
B,
B.
A or C.
Well, it's-
that was much more confusing than my penis.
You're like, I see this like in the geek world and stuff. It's like, well, they
Right,
say like, well,
right.
I'm a big Star Wars fan. It's like, oh yeah, well, I've seen it like 50 times and I got all
Well,
the figures.
how
Well, I
about
don't collect
this?
all the figures. Well, you're not a real fan then.
Well,
yeah,
no,
that's
you can be a
It
fan.
could be geek cred also. It'd be like, you could say like, dude, I'm a total Windows user, right? And then you can make the claim like, no Windows user would ever use an iPod, and then you find the one who does, then you go like, well, that's not a true Windows user.
The
Yes.
problem
They
is
use
that
iTunes and an iPod.
using the words
Yeah.
real or true, those really by themselves, they're meaningless. You have to define what
Right.
is a real Scotsman or what is a real Star
It's
Wars fan.
it's your opinion.
Yeah.
It's
And so it's
having your
meaningless because you
opinion
can
on
say,
what
I'm a
fan
real
is.
Star Wars fan and you're not.
Right.
I'd say,
Well, the
'cause that-
definition is self-contained also.
Yeah.
and a real Scotsman is what I call my penis.
Moving
Post hoc ergo propter hoc. Also, what I call my penis.
on. Post hoc ergo hella propter hoc. No. That means if...
Sounds like a
If-
law firm.
No, it means after that...
It's
After this,
translate
therefore,
after the-
because of this.
Because of this,
That's
right,
it.
right. Thank you. So it's basically that whole thing about like, what if I point at the moon and then it happens to explode, right?
And I'd be like,
Wow.
holy crap, don't mess with Daryl.
Don't point at anybody.
It's like, I was watching
False causation.
I was watching
in other
World's
words.
Dumbest the other day, and the guy's filming a helicopter. He's like, whoa, it'd be cool if this thing crashed. And then it crashed. And then he's like, everybody stand back, it might explode. And the guys who were commenting on it said, don't say that, you've already used your power for evil.
So it's like superstition.
Well,
Yeah.
it's false. It's a false
Connects,
like-
relationship.
Connected
And
You're
then
watching, you're
Anyone
watching a
can do
game,
it.
and because I'm wearing this jersey,
Yeah.
and they won the game, it's because of
Okay.
me.
Connecting cause
Yeah, no, that's definitely
Or like you're watching the game and
Yeah.
you're wearing the jersey, and
anything
the
that
team's
the-
losing, you take it off, and they suddenly
Yeah.
take the lead, and you're like, I'm never wearing that again.
right. Yeah.
Or
That's a good
anything
point.
the
That's
Long Island medium says is exactly that. Anything
Another,
she
here's
says.
another example would be shouting Chirac and then a lightning bolt.
Okay, next one, rectum ad absorptum. When you're...
Reductio.
Oh,
Ad absurdum.
Your
What is this?
rectum absorbs
Is
what?
this like Harry Potter spells or
I don't
something?
understand.
rectum ad absorption.
They're Latin.
Reductio!
My penis has been absorbed to my rectum.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I'm big.
Okay. So
That's my name.
what does Bane have to do with this?
He likes hip hop. Exactly.
So anyway,
Yo, man, you suck! So, yes, reducta and absorptum. Daryl!
the musical stylings of Bane.
Daryl, you can't start losing it. You're the only thing holding this together, okay?
Without
I thought your
you,
penis was holding
we're
this.
gonna have, this is going to be false logical stuff.
Okay, fine. Reductio ad absurdum. It basically is saying if we assume the premises are true, that it leads to an absurd conclusion, right? Like
And trying to say that that's valid.
right.
That's the
I'm
problem.
trying to say it's valid, but it's a logical fallacy when you don't investigate the premises, right? You're basically saying gay marriage leads to everyone humping their dog. Okay. Now you might have to look at your premises because they might be wrong.
My dog
Because it
humps
doesn't
me.
necessarily mean everyone's going to start doing that.
You're
right?
gay married.
So, again, I kind of rolled a slippery slope argument into there because it's like, oh, if we start doing one thing, then we allow everything.
Yeah.
But you could just make absurd claims that, like, if this, that, and the other are true, then invariably leads to
So
this
would it,
absurd conclusion.
would that be like the government saying, well, if we take the guns out of people, then violence will go down?
Well, if you take the guns out of people, they're putting guns in
Loneliness
themselves.
will go up. I don't know.
Loneliness will go up.
'Cause I miss my gun.
I missed it when my
I want to
gun
know
was
who
in
these
me.
people have guns inside of them.
Yeah.
Well, then there's only a few places you
They're
can
like
stick your gun, so
Terminators.
I'm going ass.
Right.
Yeah.
So-
With
so
us, yeah.
Tsunagi.
And then, because if I had my gun up my ass, I'd
I'm
be doing
sorry,
some special
what was
pleading.
your point, Paul? I missed it with the
I don't
guns
know.
inside of people.
Are you
thing.
so sure? it
Well,
wouldn't
so
go
like
up your
you're
penis?
saying the cause of taking banning guns, people
Right.
from taking guns out of their homes and whatever, that would lower violence.
I don't know if that's an absurd argument necessarily, though. But what might be absurd is to say, take all the guns out of people's hands, and then
then
people will
everybody
kill
would-
each other with rocks.
Well,
that
Okay,
might
okay.
be
I was going
kind
to
of
say,
an
I was
absurd
thinking that exact
conclusion.
thing, but with knives.
Fit knives.
Okay.
I was thinking that exact same thing, but with my penis.
Oh,
Okay, let's go to
I
special
think we
pleading.
missed that one a little bit, but that's all right because we'll probably get to it later.
Special pleading.
All right, that's basically just saying that certain things don't apply. Like,
My penis.
I could tell you that, like, I'll say my car can do 280 miles per hour on the open freeway. And, like, I'll show you sometime, right? And then you actually get in the car and find out it does, like, 150, right? And you're like, dude, I thought you said it could go 250. And I'll be like, oh, well, it doesn't make it to that speed when there's someone in the passenger seat.
Sort of like my penis.
Right. So that's just special pleading.
I thought you said it was this
like
big.
saying, like,
oh, it doesn't
oh,
get that
like,
big when there's someone
when
watching.
my car's observed, it doesn't go as fast as it does when I'm alone.
Oh, I thought you said your
so-
penis was huge. Oh, it doesn't get that way when there's people watching.
Like the ghost hunters,
Right,
the ghosts always
exactly.
hide when the
Yeah.
cameras are out there.
Yes.
Kind of like, yeah.
that's a good
that's
one.
definitely special pleading. Like, and also it gets used a lot with, like, ESP stops working when there's a skeptic in the room. Right?
God, of
You know.
course it does.
Right.
That's a good one.
Meaning
Okay.
when there's someone who's actually doing methodical research in the room.
Okay, next one. Slippery slope, which is what I call my penis. Good. My joke's over for that one. You may continue.
Yay. So it's saying if A leads to B, then B leads to C, and C leads to D. It's a descending order of...
Until it gets to something so extreme.
compounding immorality until it becomes this crazy thing. Like, gee, if people start collecting Transformers, and the next thing you know, they're gonna be... What?
they're going to be gay.
Well, it'd be like if a kid shoplifts, it's going to lead to harder crimes. They'll be,
right,
they'll be-
yeah, like
they're going
a
to end
kid-
up killing people later.
A kid shoplifting is gonna be tomorrow's murderer.
As Weird Al says, that the person stealing songs will soon be running over people with their
True.
cars.
Yeah.
That's a very good one. Yeah.
And running
Slippery
over.
slope. So, like, yeah, if you commit a little minor misdemeanor right now, that just leads to all hell breaking loose. Okay, I think that
It's
counts.
like you're
because
eating,
you'll start
like
out
eating Taco
stealing-
Bell at midnight, you're going to get diarrhea by 3.
Because you'll start out stealing.
But that could happen.
And robbing
that would be
liquor
liquor
stores.
Yeah.
And
that would
getting
be-
drunk and running over school kids with your car.
And what you said, Paul, that would be the 3 o'clock slippery slope.
Oh, let's move on to
Japanese guy.
tautology.
Okay.
Which I know this one. This is my penis. Therefore, this is my penis.
Kind of like. Yeah, you're basically stating the premise and the conclusion is the same thing with no real information introduced.
God exists because God exists.
Right.
Boom! You're smoked.
Well, how about...
I just couldn't argue against that because you're stupid.
You're way at the beginning of the list.
Go ahead, hominin man.
God, how many man?
It's a new superhero. Bad Hobbit Man. All he does is he
Essentially, the
He
same
shows
thing
up
is
and shows
restated,
you
so
you're
it's not so
stupid.
obvious that it's the same thing. Like, it could be that going to church makes people more peaceful. Therefore, we have a more peaceful society when more people
I
go to
disagree
church.
with that. I think shooting people makes them much more peaceful.
But it's kind of like you just restate the same thing as your conclusion, even though it's,
Well, I just decided I want to make superheroes out of each one of these. I am tautology man because I am tautology man.
Hey, I'm going to be the rectal absurdum guy or whatever.
Okay, the next one is
Tupac.
You too.
It means
We'll
you
forget
too.
the Latin for right now.
Yeah,
Shakur.
just say you too.
YouTube.
You two.
Your mama.
I wanted to start singing a song, but I couldn't remember
So
the
it's
U2 songs.
basically saying...
One
Okay, it's like, how many times have you been called out doing something wrong? And then you go, well, you do that too. Like a kid. Mm-hmm. That's basically what it is. It's like, I could say, you're ad hominem attacking me, and you're like, well, you did it first.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. It's like every day in my classroom.
You started it.
Right, exactly. So that's the exact thing. That's kind
so
of
is that like if everybody jumped off a bridge, would you go with them?
It doesn't. Your poor logic doesn't get justified by someone else using poor logic against you. So, yeah.
Right. Neither does my penis.
Your penis. Right.
Okay. The fallacy. Ooh, that's repetitive.
That's
okay.
positive.
What that basically means is, just because someone's argument contains a logical fallacy doesn't in itself invalidate the point. So sometimes people can make a legitimate point, and their argument can be filled with logical fallacies, yet by happenstance they might still be correct.
Right.
Right? Like I could be arguing the sky is blue and be calling you and say, no, it's obviously blue because you're an idiot. Right? That's not a sound argument, but it doesn't mean the sky's not blue either.
Right? It's like you could say Socrates is a man, and because all men are Greek.
All men are Greek.
Which, of course, is not true.
Right.
But that's the argument.
We could say my penis is...
It's like the sky is blue.
I don't know. Right. Just penis. I'm out of jokes.
They said, and because Obama is a Democrat.
My penis is blue.
Right.
Because that was their argument. Then my argument is similar.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
That's
I'm
what
not
I'm
read the
saying.
last one because I'm out of penis jokes. Moving goalposts, like my penis post. Go. That's all I can think of.
Okay, that's basically asking for a certain
Asking for it. That's asking for it, man.
You guys. Gosh, we're almost nearly at an hour, and we only got through the first part. This is insane.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to have to speed this up. But moving goalposts is basically saying, I'll take your argument to heart when you present certain evidence, and then you give me said evidence, and I go, oh, well, that's no longer good enough. I want you to give me this other evidence, too. Right. So you constantly, you can constantly keep someone at a distance in their way to win you over in their argument by constantly saying, well, the evidence you gave me is fine, but it's not good enough.
So it's like the 9/11
I need more.
conspiracies and skeptics and stuff. National Geographic Discovery, whatever, bring out all of the facts to debunk them, but they're never going to believe them and accept it. So they say, "Well, give me more proof."
Cunnilingus.
Right.
Is that the next fallacy? Okay, and the last fallacy, cunnilingus.
That's not a fallacy.
Isn't he he's a Civil War figure, right? Colonel Lingus.
All right,
okay, is it game time?
I think it's game time.
All right. Daryl, put echo in this one.
Take our pants off.
Whoa.
Oh, wait.
Echo.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Name That Fallacy!
Now, what's the game like, Joey?
With your host, Daryl George!
Do I have to host this too?
Yeah, it's your fault.
Do you want to state the rules, or shall I?
Go ahead.
Go for it.
All right. It's all me still, I guess. So what we're going to do is we have a few video clips, and I'm going to we're going to listen to them. This is going to be first time for you guys for most of the clips.
Yeah, I'm going to pop my fallacy.
And what I would like to do is just challenge you to find the logical fallacy or fallacies that's espoused in every clip. And I think it's just a good exercise to think about it critically. And then we can go into maybe a little more detail about whichever fallacies are exampled here. So our first clip is up, and we're ready.
I can't hear it.
Well, boys and girls, put your hand up if you've heard of the word evolution.
Oh boy, I think just about everyone put their
hands up. Hands down. Put your hand up if you've heard that.
Nobody knows about evolution.
We were supposed to start at 29 seconds. I guess it reverted.
It rebooted. It was too long. We waited too long.
Like
we'll be ready in just a second.
I know.
All right, let's
evolution.
Go now.
Evolution is the idea some people have to explain life without God. You know, when you came in here this morning, did you look at this building and say, wow, it got here by an explosion in a brick factory?
Dude, what the...
You don't think that? No. You know, somebody designed this building. And I certainly don't believe that life came about by chance, random processes millions of years ago. In some soup in the sea, life was formed, and then one kind of animal changes into another, ape-like creatures into people, until finally here we are in Pennsylvania. I don't believe that at all, do you?
Okay, I know the answer.
You do.
He's Australian.
Yes.
Therefore, he's wrong.
Thank you for the ad hominem, Joey. Wait, calling someone an Australian is an ad hominem?
No, it's because they're stupid.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, ad hominem man.
Ad hominem.
I think it's the false analogy.
Oh, very
Yes.
good, Joey. Wow. Right
Did
away.
I get it?
Can you
That's what I came up
I
with.
can't read them.
So that's good. Hey, did you say ass? Okay, sorry, I forgot to fade you down.
Quite a feminine voice.
Right. Ass.
Hey,
Okay.
False analogy is that if an exploding brick factory could make the building we're in, therefore the chaos of the universe could make what we're, the amazingness of the universe today. And
Dude, that was awesome. That impressed me more than your penis ever will. All right. Next one.
Any evidence that might show that evolution is questionable.
Where did you study science?
Well, see, that's the point. Scientists are now claiming that they're the only ones that can speak on this issue. And yet when people who look at the evidence go to the Smithsonian Museum on Natural History, and when we look for where's the evidence to show evolution from one species to another, all we find are drawings, illustrations. There aren't the actual material evidence showing it. So while there are attempts to say that only scientists can speak on this, what we have are scientists that are then creating an isolated community and saying that we're the ones, it's almost like a religion in which only scientists are allowed to speak and teach on it, and to teach everyone else. And everyone else must believe what particular scientists say. But the scientists who question evolution are being censored out, are being blackballed out of the scientific community, and being told that the rest of the world cannot listen to them.
Yeah.
okay, she's a bitch.
Her problem is also she's Australian.
Thanks again for the ad hominem.
Yeah, no problem.
Well, all right. So, what do you think her logical fallacy was, or maybe there could be more than one?
I see personal incredulity as well as
that's
the one with the sample with the fossils.
Sample with the fossils.
I got to read the thing again.
And with where to go? With argument from authority.
Okay.
Well, it's
well, you know what?
She's reversing that. It's like an argument from a reverse authority, saying because she's saying you can't argue from your authority.
Well, let me point out that I don't think she said it specifically in her statement there, but most creationists do argue from authority in terms of the Bible says so, therefore it's true, right? So that kind of authority, I think, is you're right in pointing that out, that it's kind of implied in what she's saying. But I think there's something else that
it's also and she's kind of ignorant on the information that
right,
that
and
she's getting.
And again, that might speak more toward her premise than her any logical fallacy at that point.
Well, what about No True Scotsman? Because it kind of seems like she's saying, that there's a club of scientists, and that if you believe this, then you have to be a scientist. I kind of see a connection there, but it's not really that clear.
Yeah. Well, do you want me to just go with my thought?
Go for it.
Sure.
Okay. So my idea was that the main fallacy in there was false continuum. And that's the equivalency of the scientific community and the religious community. She's saying that there's no real division between religious scholars who believe in creationism and evidentiary scientists who believe, in her words, believe in the theory of evolution. So she's basically saying that they're all the same. Like, you guys have your club and your personal beliefs, and to be fair in the classroom, our religious beliefs should be shown alongside And that's regardless of the separation that the scientists are looking at evidence, the creationists are looking at authority coming from the Bible, right?
Gotcha. That makes
and then
sense.
I also spotted some inconsistency in there too, because she's really
a bitch
cracking. Well, earlier on in this especially, she's really cracking down on little pieces of inconsistent evidence in the chain of evidence for evolution, yet refuses to bring her own evidence to the table about why creationism should be accepted.
Yeah.
Right?
Is this next guy Brendan Fraser?
No,
it's Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise.
Oh, it's Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise. All right. Well,
Ready?
good job on that. I think you guys got pretty close to that. No True Scotsman is kind of there in a subtle way. So, like, you guys are true believers the same way that we are.
Okay, what about, is this one about being glib?
We're going to find out.
All right, here we go. Next one.
Ready. And go.
That psychiatry is a pseudoscience. But Tom, if she said that this particular thing helped her feel better, whether it was the antidepressant or going to a counselor
Don't be glib,
or a
dude.
psychiatrist, isn't that enough? Matt, you have to understand this.
Matt, don't be glib. Show me the
Here we are
money.
today, where I talk out against drugs and psychiatric abuses of electric shocking people, okay, against their will, of drugging children with them not knowing the effects of these drugs. Do you know what Adderall is? Do you know Ritalin? Do you know now that Ritalin is a street drug?
I know.
You understand that? The difference is,
This was not against her will, though.
Matt,
But this wasn't
I'm
against
asking you a
Brooke's will.
question. Matt, I'm asking you a question.
I understand
Do you
there's
know-
abuse of all of these things.
No, you see, here's the problem. You don't know the history of psychiatry. I do.
Aren't there examples, and might not Brooke Shields be an example of someone who benefited from one of those drugs?
All it does is mask the problem, Matt. And if you understand the history of it, it masks the problem. That's what it does. That's all it does. You're not getting to the reason why. There is no such thing as a chemical imbalance.
So the problem he's having here is that he's saying everybody's going to turn into Zorro because they're going to wear masks.
Okay, then.
I think so.
Where's the don't be glib part? I was waiting for that. Don't be glib, Matt. Don't be glib. I'm going to jump on the sofa if you keep this up. By the way, I think he's a great actor. I think he's awesome. I like him in a lot of movies.
Sure.
He's
Just
dick
a weird
outside,
dude.
though.
Yeah, it's hard to see his face.
Well,
all over the
I see
place
for
in
one
there.
thing false,
All over the
false
place.
analogy that he has Adderall and all that and relating it to street drugs.
Okay.
I got one.
I can totally see that.
I heard him totally do that question thing where he was like, well, what do you think about this being street drugs?
He's kind of begging the question.
Yeah, but yeah, no, where he, the whole, well, do you like beating your wife? Or do you still beat your wife? That one.
Yeah, that's begging
the question? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if he quite took it that far, although I like your thinking there. It's because he kept asking, instead of providing evidence, he kept asking, do you know this drug?
Right.
Do you know that drug?
And he said, I do.
Right. So there's a different
Or
fallacy there.
confusing association with causation with the drugs.
Okay.
That
I could
that
give you
you
that one.
associate that he's saying that these drugs causes
so many
these
problems.
problems.
False dichotomy.
Because he's just, but is he seeing an association? It's not a causation. It's an association.
Right.
I forget, what's
Well,
false?
explain false dichotomy.
It sounded right. What is false dichotomy again?
That's when you take a series of options and whittle them down to only two.
I don't know, it wasn't that one.
Okay. So isn't this fun? We get to learn more about the various...
I still want to go with the argument from authority, but that's not quite right.
Yeah.
It is
That's
argument
one
from
of them.
authority?
Yeah.
Because he's trying to say he's an authority.
Exactly. Well,
Oh.
and in fact, he's leveraging his status as a celebrity to say, I have authority to talk about this, and you don't know jack about it. Right?
It's like celebrities talking about politics and stuff and all that.
When any true authority should be... You know, he does claim that he's studied this stuff, but I find it hard to believe what the conclusions he comes to.
But even if he was someone who had like a doctorate in this and had studied this, he's still not giving us anything. He's just saying, "I know this,"
right?
And he's not giving us any evidence why.
So
he's just saying,
that's why
"Trust
it's
me."
argument from authority. Yeah,
Perfect.
he's saying,
Yeah.
"I'm the authority here.
Right.
You listen to what I say,
And don't be glib.
And don't even
be
look it up. Don't try to." do you know this thing? Do you know that thing? He's
Shockwave
not expecting an answer.
says.
I think
And
that's how he become a
is have him-
Scientologist, is because that's how he accepts things. Somebody you telling him,
Right.
I know what you're supposed
That's
to
the other
think.
thing. He's relying on the authority of the Scientology Church because the whole thing about there are no chemical imbalances, that's part of the belief system of Scientology. So he says psychiatry is a complete sham because there's nothing to cure.
Chemicals
there's
are
no
always
illness.
perfectly
There's no
balanced.
mental illness. What?
Chemicals are always perfectly balanced.
And then
you mix them.
There's another one. Do you want to keep digging for it, or should I just come up with it?
No, go. Say it.
Go, dude.
Okay, personal incredulity is in there too. Because he's basically saying, I cannot believe in a chemical imbalance existing in someone's head, therefore it doesn't exist. Right?
That should be Jedi mind trickedness.
Yeah, kind of like.
It does
Okay,
not
good
exist.
job on that. I
Is
like
that
that.
the droids you're
I
looking
like that. You want to do the next? Are
You ready?
Let's go.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Where is the poison?
Right there.
The battle of wits has begun. It ends when you decide and we both drink and find out who is right and who is dead.
But it's so simple. All I have to do is divine from what I know of you. Are you the sort of man who would put the poison into his own goblet or his enemies? Now, a clever man would put the poison into his own goblet because he would know that only a great fool would reach for what he was given. I'm not a great fool, so I can clearly not choose the wine in front of you. But you must have known I was not a great fool. You would have counted on it, so I can clearly not choose the wine in front of me.
You've made your decision then?
Not remotely. Because iocane comes from Australia, as everyone knows. And Australia is entirely peopled with criminals. And criminals are used to having people not trust them as you are not trusted by me, so I can clearly not choose the wine in front of you.
Truly, you have a dizzying intellect.
Wait till I get going! Where was I?
Australia.
Yes, Australia. And you must have suspected I would have known the powder's origin, so I can clearly not choose the wine in front of me.
You're just stalling now.
You'd like to think that, wouldn't you? You've beaten my giant, which means you're exceptionally strong. So you could have put the poison in your own goblet, trusting on your strength to save you, so I can clearly not choose the wine in front of you. But you've also bested my Spaniard, which means you must have studied, and in studying you must have learned that man is mortal, so you would have put the poison as far from yourself as possible, so I can clearly not choose the wine in front of me.
You're trying to trick me into giving away something. It won't work.
It has worked. You've given everything away. I know where the poison is.
Then make your choice.
I will, and I choose. What in the world can that be?
What? Where? I don't see anything.
Switch the goblet.
Oh, well, I could have sworn I saw something. No matter.
What's so funny?
I'll tell you in a minute. First, let's drink. Me from my glass, and you from yours.
You guessed wrong.
You only think I guessed wrong. That's what's so funny. I switched glasses when your back was turned. Ha ha, you fool. You fell victim to one of the classic blunders. The most famous is never get involved in a land war in Asia, but only slightly less well known is this. Never go in against a Sicilian when death is on the line.
And
All right.
end scene.
And we are at an impasse.
I'm afraid so.
Whoa, wait, what?
Yes.
We're not now. Okay, I want to just explain to the audience. Just for some reason, you're listening to this and you never saw The Princess Bride. Shame on you. But if that's I wanted to explain that
You're an idiot.
the man in black explains as he's going away that he built up a tolerance or immunity to iocane powder over the years, and he had actually poisoned both goblets. Therefore, whichever one the guy chooses would be wrong. And then for our panelists here, I want to explain that there are basically three fallacies I'm looking for here. One of them's kind of soft, but the other two are pretty.
I'd say straw man for calling the Australians all criminals.
Kind of, sort of, but that's true if you say Australians' arguments aren't valid because they're criminals. So I don't quite see a straw man there.
I say post ergo hoctor ho whatever that one was.
Dr. Ho.
Dr. Ho. Post.
After that, because of this,
Yeah.
or after this, because of this,
Yeah.
right?
It seems that way.
Why?
He's making a lot of connections. This because that because this.
Yeah, it becomes a slippery slope.
A slippery slope. Yeah.
Huh. You guys are hitting a bunch that I wasn't even looking for. But
Damn
I'm
it.
not saying they're wrong because they're.
What about rectum absorption?
Absurdium? Not really.
I just wanted to say that again. Well, it's not.
Okay, well, let me
Is it
give you-
false
well,
analogy again?
What did he say about?
Not. What analogy does he make?
No, he doesn't. He's doing.
He's not talking in metaphors at all. So.
No. Well, with false continuum.
Ripping teeth.
Two things. He's basing
Okay.
it on. Go ahead.
I'm gonna just explain one part of it. Is that at the beginning, he's actually using sound logic, but it's circular logic.
Okay.
Because he keeps switching up the premise, right? Or one premise points to the other. So he's saying, okay, you're obviously not dumb, so you didn't put the poison close to you. However, you know that I know that you're not dumb, and therefore you might try to trick me by putting the poison closer to me.
Causation.
And you wind up with this circular loop of, then you could go one level up from that. He might know that I'm not dumb, that I know that he's not dumb. Therefore, he would put the poison close to him. And you can keep going up level after level and never end. And that's something that's used in poker strategy quite a bit, because players that are expert at the game, they will try to level one another. They'll be like, okay, this person just raised, and that's a sign to me that they have my hand beat, right? But they know that that's a sign to me that my hand's beat. So they might expect me to call thinking they're bluffing. But then maybe they think I'm going to call their bluff, and therefore I should still fold because, there again, it's just the level thing. Like, you get to level 42 and you're like, oh my gosh, which way are they? So there's a little bit of circular logic there, and one form of circular logic is a tautology, because the premise basically states the conclusion, right? So they're not exactly the same, but you do wind up in this same kind of circular loop of logic here. So that's the one I was saying was kind of there's like a little soft tautology there. Tautology.
And nobody wants a soft tautology.
Okay, so there are two more I was looking for. Anybody? Any last guesses here?
Go for it.
All right. So the thing about Australia was a non sequitur. It's basically like, I'm going to talk about Australians all being criminals, and it has nothing to do with the problem in front of me, right? So, and then the last part is he basically was fooled, and it's not really his fault, but he is operating under the premise of a false dichotomy. He's saying the poison is either in this goblet or that goblet, when in truth it's in both goblets, right? So he is operating under the premise of either or, when it could be both or neither, right? So he wasn't examining all of the options on the table. And then he died because of it. Poor fool. All right, are we ready for the next one?
Yes, we are.
All right.
Was designed to eat vegetables.
If this creature was designed to eat meat from the very start, what would he have to do until Adam and Eve sinned and death entered the world? What would he have to do? Fast and pray for the fall. Is that likely? And the answer is, everybody look at me and say, no. Try that with me. No.
Dick.
And he's saying that to a bunch of kids.
Well,
in
for one, that's
the
authority.
Yeah.
Because he is the teacher and the kids are following him.
Right. He's saying it's this way because I say so. Mm-hmm. Right, that's good. And he's also saying because the Bible says so.
Yeah.
Like they're taking for granted.
So that's the A equals B, so A equals B. Is that coming from the...
That'd be a tautology.
Is that tautology?
Yeah. Not exactly what I'm looking for.
Isn't it the one where the reverse thing? He's saying this couldn't have happened because the dinosaurs couldn't have been here because they would have had to wait for Adam and Eve.
Well, his argument, just to be clear, since I realized I didn't set it up, they're looking at the remains of a T-Rex. And he's basically saying that, remember in the Bible, before the fall, when Eve ate the apple, which was the cause of it, and before sin entered the world, death was impossible, right? So they're basically saying T-Rexes, which evolved these sharp teeth and claws to kill other animals, obviously couldn't have killed anything before the fall. Yet their belief is that they existed simultaneous with Adam and Eve. So
post hoc ergo propter hoc. After this, therefore, because of this.
Explain what those things are.
That they couldn't eat. They couldn't. So you're saying that the dinosaur could not do anything until
could
Adam
not
and Eve?
eat meat because there was
nothing
there.
there.
Nothing died.
So you couldn't eat things, and also some people that have approached it from a physics standpoint basically say that the second law of thermodynamics didn't exist before the fall either. So even if you did eat something, it wouldn't digest because you couldn't break it down.
Okay, well, all this is based on the fact that there was the fall.
Right.
Which is not proven.
Right.
So you can't base all this on the
fall.
fall.
Okay, so we can definitely say that that's possibly a false premise.
False premise, there we go. That's
okay. But that's not a flaw in logic by itself. But that's valid, though. That's a valid point against the argument, for sure. Maybe I should just go.
Yeah, just go.
Okay. So there's a way that this isn't necessarily logical fallacy, but he almost did like a false monotomy. Like instead of being a false dichotomy, he whittled it down to just one choice. He's like, what happened before the fall to T-Rex? He either had to fast and pray or nothing. He's whittling down all the possibilities that could have been to one option. So in a way, he's basically not exploring the multitude of options that could happen.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And then the other thing is he does a reductio ad absurdum. However, usually that's done to shoot down the premises, right? But what he actually winds up doing is shooting himself in the foot by coming to an absurd conclusion and not saying that it's absurd because the premises are absurd.
Well, that's why I was saying it's a fallacy.
Fallacy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's invoking an unsound argument as his conclusion.
But fallacy lets an argument off the hook. So which argument is he giving a pass to?
That the fall had anything to do with what he's talking about.
Okay.
Because it didn't.
I'm thinking that maybe we have a different opinion about what the fallacy is. The fallacy is when you say someone's argument could still be valid despite the fact that they used false logic. That's what that one points to. So I don't see that one as being applicable to this situation.
My brain hurts.
And isn't it a good hurt?
Wouldn't it be like inconsistency too?
Inconsistency,
he's saying like
right.
T-Rex existed,
right?
But he ate meat, but he couldn't eat meat until after the fall,
right? So
how did he eat before the fall?
Right,
it's inconsistent.
They're saying basically you might have been a vegetarian, that kind of thing. So here's the deal. I think it's reductio ad absurdum. However, he didn't employ it properly. So he's basically saying, under these premises, this really ridiculous, absurd conclusion happens. And he's saying shoot down the absurd conclusion instead of shoot down the ridiculous premises.
And what do you have to say about this guy, Ad hoc man? Hominy and Hawkmet?
Well, obviously the problem is it's stupid.
And what about him?
Obviously stupid.
Obviously.
All right. So thank you for brainwashing our youth, Mr. whatever guy you are.
Was that the last one?
That was the last one.
Thanks for joining us on Echo for this. Write down Echo. Thanks for joining us on Name That Fallacy. Today's contestants were brought here by Delta Airlines. Always enjoy to fly, and it shows. Also, some of today's party contestants will receive my penis.
And a Nexus 7. No, you don't, actually. None of you won.
Hey, I got the first one right.
That's true.
All right. So, anything else you want to talk about today with fallacies, Daryl? Because we're at like 120 already, and my brain does hurt.
Yeah, that one was kind of rough. I apologize to the home audience.
I enjoyed it. I learned something.
Cool. Well, hopefully everyone stuck around long enough to learn.
That didn't happen.
It was good.
That never happens. I doubt it makes it past like 9 minutes.
Shockwave's gonna come get you, alright? I'm telling you.
Alright, so that was Fallacies, which is actually... that's a little weird.
That's cool.
That was weird in the other ear.
Too bad we don't have 2 of them.
Guys, what did we decide last week? I mean, we're gonna...
I think we're gonna do random ramblings next week.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, that's a great idea. Let's do random ramblings next week, guys. I think that would be an awesome idea.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the week after, we'll just see...
Let our brains cool down.
Random ramblings from a what?
Headiness.
From, I don't know, whatever you got around the house. We'll see if there's one around the house.
Okay, alright.
Yeah.
But you can't play, Paul. Sorry.
Yeah, I'll be.
How come you have such a plethora of empty tissue boxes?
Paul, you're not invited. Hey, yeah, look at all these tissue boxes. Kale, we can use one of these next week.
Because I'm double jointed.
Oh, didn't need to see that. Erasing it from my mind. Okay. Wrong. You can always find me if you're looking for me yet.
Windows double jointed.
And I am rambling.com. Paul, where can we find you?
You can
Cowering
find
under
me
the table.
at heyitspaul.com.
Kale, where are you doing your stuff at?
You can find me under some rock after this.
Daryl?
I'll be under that same... You can find me on George.com.
I don't have enough tissue for you, Jared.
GIRS.
Are they moistened?
Thank you for joining us, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Woo!
Some more ramblings next week, random. Thank you, and
thanks for indulging us.
Good night.
You're my hero.
Spell the fish.
Thanks for listening. You can now stop screaming at the open air. Listeners should put their minds back in their upright positions and resume traditional thinking. Find us on IamRambling.com for access to all of our weekly ramblings, show notes, general discussions, and any projects from Incoherent Ramblings. Like us on Facebook and rate us on iTunes. So long, and thanks for all the fish.
And now for our next number, we will play scary music of the Nevada desert.
Oh, I thought you were signaling Joe to like 3,
No.
2. Well, I can't even account. I'm sorry. What's our next number? Oh, sorry, our conductor.
My flute broke. It's like, what's wrong with it?
Oh, yeah.
What are we doing? This is not a Halloween episode. It's Paul's birthday! And stop. Stop.
And the rattlesnake.